pull up on you, then I might swear, ayy. Double off deuce, ayy. That just might work, ayy. When I pull up on you, then I might swear, ayy. Double off deuce, ayy. That just might work, ayy. That just might work.
Welcome back to another episode of the Michel Matters Podcast. I'm Jocks Michel.
And I'm Jackie Michel.
Welcome back.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, so this week is going to be a pillow talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's been so much going on. We'll catch you guys up on our next full episode. But for today, Jackie brought up something that I think is actually a really good topic. And I feel like it's been popping up a lot lately, but I guess I'll let you go ahead and kind of catch everybody up or let everybody know what we're talking about.
Yeah, so there's been, obviously since COVID has happened, we've all been home and just reworking and changing up how we do things in life. Mm-hmm. And I think this big thing that's been going on as far as in a lot of believers' lives is deconstruction, is what people are calling it. Mm-hmm. And people are deconstructing their faith. And
how would you describe deconstruction? Like, what does that mean to you?
What does that mean to me, or what does it mean?
What does it mean? I guess, yeah, what does it mean to you? What does it mean? What does it mean?
Well, I feel like if construction means building up something, then deconstruction would mean tearing it down. I don't have a Webster in front of me, though.
A Webster. I didn't want to. I saw a definition somewhere, but keep going. Don't watch me. I'm looking up something.
To like tear it down or to figure out the parts of it, right? So what we're seeing though with people who have been deconstructing their faith, a lot of the popular Christians, because those are the ones that we can actually see and have like an eye on, are, deciding to actually step away completely from the faith.
Okay, so can I?
Go ahead.
All right, so...
Can you what?
I was going to tell you, because I saw an article I read an article, and the way they describe deconstruction is a popular term that refers to the practice of revisiting and rethinking long-held beliefs, specifically in the Christian faith. So that's what they called reconstruction.
Reconstruction
or deconstruction? Yeah. Sorry. But yeah, so that's why because if construction, like you said, is building up, deconstructing is tearing down. But I guess in the terms of like ideology, it would just be, rethinking, like stripping everything down to like, okay, why is it that we do X, Y, Z?
Yeah.
Or why do we believe in such and such?
Yeah. I think the number, or not the number one, but I think the first time that I was seeing something like that, it was on the topic of the Trinity.
Okay.
And I didn't do a deep dive on it. I just saw like certain, Instagram lives come up where people were like talking about it. And I was like, okay, I'm not mad at that stuff because I feel like everyone should be asking these questions. Like if you're going to believe in something, you should go ahead and do whatever it takes to find out, the truth.
Yeah.
I think, though, when it comes to deconstructing, I don't know what people are searching for. I don't know if they're searching for their own truth and principles or, whatever sinful desires, or even if, whatever, or if they're looking for the truth.
That's fair.
That's where I kind of have an issue.
Yeah, so that actually came up in recently. It was a popular Christian poet / singer. Where he, came out this week or it depends on when you hear this, but recently he came out with a statement where he said that he's no longer a Christian. And he did a whole podcast, which is very long and dramatic, where he talks about like when he was trying to figure out, what he believes in, he had to stop. Like, he would work in a way originally where, like, okay, whatever, like, the resurrection of Jesus Christ is like, to him is okay, I know, or I want to believe that Christ rose again on the third day, and I'm going to do research to back up that assumption, right? Versus just trying to figure out in general.
Yeah.
Did Christ, rise after 3 days?
Did he die at all?
Yeah.
So he already had an answer.
Yeah, and that's not the example he gave, but I'm just giving an example of, like, what he meant by not...
Like, working backwards.
Yeah, like, not working to support a presupposed idea, but looking for an answer altogether.
Yeah.
Not coming in with any, I guess, like, preconceived notions or early thoughts on something, because I think, especially as Christians, that a lot of times that's what we do, because we're kind of given a set of guidelines and answers, and we will just usually know the supporting information. Like, I remember as a kid, one of the books that I read early on that really, like, kind of shaped the way I thought was The Case for Faith and The Case for Christ, those Lee Strobel books, where he answers a lot of questions. But I feel like if you don't really learn how we get to a lot of these answers, then you may not, like, I don't know how to explain it. I had a point, but I don't remember where I was going with it.
You're saying if we, like, you may not know how to, like, search for it.
Yeah, you may not know how to reconstruct, I guess, or how to find some of these answers. Because the other option is you don't, like, coming into it knowing you don't want to believe something.
Right.
So you'll only search for, like, those articles that go against it or whatever, versus trying to be as unbiased as possible in what you're looking up.
Yeah. Have you ever deconstructed anything within the faith? Which I'm sure is a yes, but...
Yeah, so I'm just trying to think, like, most recently, right? There are a couple things that I felt like I really... I don't want to say wrestle with, but I've just, like, okay, I really tried to sit down and come up with, like, okay, why is it that we do X, Y, Z? And I think one of the more recent ones that I've kind of looked at is just, like, women's role in church. I think that's something that we spoke about a lot during COVID. Because I'll be honest, like, growing up, I never really put thought into what women's roles were in church. And it wasn't until one day we had a meeting about something and someone mentioned, like, about women pastors. And I never thought about it, like, explicitly that women can't be pastors.
Yeah.
I just know that it was just not something I saw as often, or it's not something that I ever went to a church that had it. But then I had to, like, go in and, like, really, like, look at it, like, no, there are passages, but then it's the interpretation of those passages and, like, really trying to, like, get under what the real root of that situation is, right? Like, why is it that we, limit certain things for women, and how we limit certain things for women? But yeah, I think that's one of the more recent ones. And even for me, like, not even, like, doctrinally, but just, like, traditionally, right? Like, the way that we do church. I think because for a long time I went to a church that is very traditional. And I just always assumed that there was, not assumed, but, like, I lean towards a church is this one way.
Right.
and there's just this one style of preaching, and I was very closed off to a lot of things. But I think one of the things during the pandemic is I was able to like virtually visit a lot of different churches and see a lot of different things, and we even visited different churches, and I think it really like, oh no, you don't have to. And it's certain things like people didn't say, like I wouldn't say I was ever in a strong legalist environment, but you wasn't coming to church and just dressed down, I guess, casual, super casual, or even just like the way people interact during the service,
right?
Where you can respond to the pastor, or it just, there were different styles of worship that and ways to do church that now I had to like really rethink, like, why is it that it's only been done this way where I've been, or so that's kind of
that was a big one for me. I think, of course, as a woman, like I don't think that I've deconstructed modesty. Or is that what people use, modesty? Yeah. Or purity culture, just because it hasn't had like a big effect on my life. Like I've never been in spaces where it was, I was looked down upon for wearing skinny jeans or something like that.
Yeah.
But I do know people who have had things mentioned to them. So like I remember growing up, I had a friend, she matured a little faster than most of us. And so I remember somebody pulled her to the side. Well, it was like a group of girls, and like was like, you guys kind of need to be careful what you wear at church, because you might have a deacon stare at you a certain way or something like that. And it's just like, why are you talking to these middle school children whose parents let them walk out the house like this, instead of talking to
the men,
whoever deacon you thinking about?
Yeah.
Like, that's, you know what I'm saying? And then, of course, there are other women who, like, everybody has their own style of dress. So if I was the type that would always come in like a bodycon dress or something like that, and somebody always has something to say about my shape or about my dress, like that would be annoying. And then I would probably have to deconstruct modesty in my brain. Like, why is this not modest to them and modest to me? Like, so what is modesty? Like, let's do a deep dive.
Yeah, and I think, and one of the and it's maybe societal, right? And that may need to be deconstructed, is why is the criticism towards the young woman versus the older, more mature man, who should be able to work through maybe some of his sinful desires,
right?
And I think it's
Does
just
collarbone turn you on? Is that am I showing too much?
Let's break that down. What about a collarbone does it for you? You know what I mean? Like,
because for some people too, like, and I love an off-shoulder top from time to time. Some people would not think that that's modest.
Yeah.
Like, some people would think like you doing too much. Yeah, and I mean, there's just so many different routes for like modesty in women. I do remember one time I was in a small group space, which was very different from like any church that I've ever been.
Is it the one I went to? Mm-hmm. Oh man, okay. Yeah, I think I went to one, and that was it. That was good.
But I feel like it was just this one particular person. So she was, she would always have like her baggy boyfriend jean on, and like, like a giveaway type t-shirt on. Okay. Like, it wasn't, and that's cool. That's her style. Like, everybody dresses how they want. Like, fro out, but maybe not too much conditioner in the fro type thing. Like, not a lot of products. So very like just
minimal.
Yeah. And I remember I would go to this small group like after work. And I work in fashion, so sometimes I would just play with makeup or whatever. And that day, I think I was wearing like a bright lipstick. And she was like, oh, like, it was like some type of comment, like, oh, why you trying to get attention, or you trying to get a man out here or something like that because of my lipstick. And it's just like, first of all, I always wear lipstick.
I mean,
and also I'm not checking for nobody here. Like,
but even if, yeah, maybe.
What are you talking about?
Is it wrong to attract attention?
I don't know.
I think it's how you attract attention.
Yeah, I don't know if it's wrong. I don't think it's
wrong.
That's not what I was doing.
I get it, but it's just one of those things where it's like,
yeah.
Like, what are we mad at?
Yeah. So for me, I haven't gotten a lot of those. Like, people have never.
Yeah.
Like,
came at you.
Yeah, that was kind of like the only time. So, I looked at my friend and we just kind of laughed it off. And then I was just like, girl, I always wear lipstick. And that's all I said to her.
Yeah.
But if I had heard things like that about my appearance since, being young, I would have probably had some issues that I'd have to, deconstruct, quote unquote.
Yeah. So I did want to take a step back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things about deconstruction that we kind of spoke about was just how you do it. And I think that's something maybe churches may be or should look into, right? Where maybe we should help people understand how to deconstruct and reconstruct their faith, right? Mm-hmm. Versus just being critical. Because I think a lot of times people are just critical of when they hear people who maybe have some of these doubts or have some of these questions So like one of the things that's come up during COVID, a lot of churches have complained that people aren't coming back to church and that it's, because of COVID. And some people may say that it wasn't COVID, it was the church, and they're not coming back because maybe they've had time to ponder and think about a lot of things, and they're just not happy with their church experience at this point, right? And okay, maybe I think as a church we should lean into that. What are some of these doubts? What are some of these concerns? And how can we be more open? Because I think a lot of people don't know how to research, how to maybe build these things back up. It's one of my favorite things about COVID too, it's more so the vaccine, right? These people say, oh, I just got to do a little more research. I'm just like, have you ever researched anything in your life, right?
Yeah.
Like, have you ever been on LexisNexis? Like, because if your research is just Facebook posts from other non-qualified people,
right,
then are you really doing more research, or are you just trying to find more things to support your narrative or your thought process?
Yeah.
Like,
it's funny because when you were talking about, you were saying something earlier, I actually was thinking about the vaccine. Mm-hmm. You were talking about research, I think, earlier, or how people would kind of get to their conclusions and where they would.
You just look up. You just find articles that
sway you one way or the other. And yes, I did. I'm fully juiced. I'm vaccinated. If you're listening now, if you've heard past episodes, you know that I was on the fence and had to do my quote unquote research. But when I did do my research based on whatever was available, I looked into what doctors were saying. I looked into what scientists were saying. I watched a lot of YouTube videos on how this vaccine enters your body and where it goes and what it does and how it goes out and stuff like that. And of course, there's still more testing and stuff. There's only a limited amount of research you could do right now. But it's like I didn't. I mean, I also looked at like what people had to say. A lot of it just kind of sounded crazy. So yeah, I would do that. Like look into different, just like you're not only gonna watch Fox, you're also gonna watch, ABC or whatever. If you're into the news or whatever.
Yeah.
If you're an unbiased person trying to get the answers to what's going on, you should be well-rounded.
Yeah.
And search in different places.
Yeah, because I one of the things that we saw is this is starting to become. I get you could call it an issue. If you're the church, I would see it as a threat.
A threat?
Yeah, so in marketing or in business school, you learn about SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You can consider as a church, reconstruction might be a threat because a lot of people are quote unquote reconstructing or deconstructing, but are they even, what are they doing? Are they doing it properly? Or are they being persuaded by, the internet, Facebook and social media, rather than the church? So yeah, there may be.
I feel like it's more of an opportunity.
But it could be both, right? It's just when you put it on when you create your SWOT analysis, yeah, it could land originally as a threat, but then you could also see that as an opportunity, correct? But it's just taking the time to embrace it. I feel like a lot of times we may dismiss those things as just, it's people being led astray. Whereas I think we can go on the offensive. I think we can see this as an opportunity, and maybe we need to do more, like almost like apologetic classes where you understand why you believe what you believe and how to defend that. Or even how do we come up to those answers? Not even how to defend it, right? Like how do we come up to those answers and responses? Because there is a lot of information out there, and I think churches should probably be open to hearing a lot of the complaints, and there may be some validity to a lot of it.
Yeah, because I think what we're used to hearing back, I mean, you and I have never really been hush.
Yeah.
When it comes to like, we should be doing this or whatever. So, but I think what a lot of churches say or a lot of the response is just like, oh, well, you're just not putting in, you're trying to get something out of the church, but you're not putting in anything. Or,
the finger is always pointed outwards, right?
And I get that. A part of it, you should look, do the internal work for sure. But, like, okay, so when I was going through my process of like, I've never really deconstructed the faith. That's not, I mean, I've always done like, okay, why do I believe this or whatever? But it's been things within the faith that I've deconstructed. So for me, when I was going through okay, well, why do I do church like this? Or why do we do church like this? And then I had my findings or whatever. And that's when it was like, let me talk to others, like to see if I'm not crazy. Let me talk to my husband, whatever. And then once you find that, then it's like, okay, what can I do from this point forward? Is there anything that I can do? And once you realize like, okay, I can't be the only one trying to change.
Yeah.
Then that's when you got to do things differently. You got to go. How is church done in the Bible? Let's start that. Let's use that as a reference. Not even just like what are other churches doing? That's cool, but they could be doing it wrong. So I don't know. Like even like, how am I doing submission? Is that correct? how is my husband doing headship? Is that correct? Because I think the main part of headship would be obviously to, for everything to be pointed towards Christ, to be more like Christ. And I can venture to say that most households, that's not what's happening. Like, everybody is not reading their Bible daily. Everybody is not, like, seeking the Lord for answers.
Not even sacrificing.
Right. And so let's scrap all that. Let's pretend we don't know the answer, and then let's go to the source if this is what we believe, and then build from there.
Yeah.
Reconstruct, as you were saying. But yeah, I don't know. I think for me, in all of the reconstruction that I've done in these various areas, I have mainly found freedom. If that makes any sense. Like, I have not reached an answer where it was like, oh, like, I don't fit in this space at all. Like, there's no way I can believe this. Just like in anything else in life, if I feel like I'm not supposed to be in this space, I'm not going to be. And that would ring true if it was the church or, Christianity. But even in anything that I dig up, even submission, for example, it's like there's freedom in that. I know that sounds crazy, but there is freedom if it's done correctly. And that's the problem. Like, a headship most of the time is not done correctly. Submission is not done correctly. Church is not done correctly. And that's when it's like, dang, I have all of these concerns. I'm bringing my concerns, or some people just don't bring their concerns at all and then just decide to leave. But if you're bringing your concerns and then you still are left to look like you're insane, that's when it's like, okay, I gotta go.
Yeah, and I think that's what I meant when I was saying this can be an opportunity, right? Like, we have to lean in. That could be anything from creating spaces where people feel comfortable to kind of bring up
ask the questions.
Some of these concerns. Because I think this is something that is going on. It's nationwide. Not even specific to just Christianity. Like, when you talk about taking down statues or renaming places, like, for a long time, the establishment has been above question and reproach. But now people are, no, why do I need to go to a school named after a slaveholder, right? Like, why do I need to believe in a faith that doesn't believe in social justice? Or it's just people, they're not afraid to question, and maybe they're not bringing it up to the leaders of their church because, they may not feel comfortable, but they're having they're answering these questions at home. They're bringing this up with their friends. They're looking it up on YouTube. And I think as an organization, as a like religion as a whole, this needs to be addressed. Like, I think, like I said, I think we need to lean into it. We need to have these discussions, and have these safe spaces, but also not be stubborn or rigid and not always point outwards. No, maybe some things do need to change.
Yeah.
And maybe the establishment needs to deconstruct and reconstruct as well. Like, it's not always a bad thing. I think we've seen it been positive in a lot of places. Like, I think the Washington football team should have changed their name a long time ago. And they're not going to lose $1 from changing the name. That was always the fear. Like, oh, it's going to be so expensive. And but now you get to sell a whole bunch of new merch.
Right.
And you also can not offend a whole group of people at the same time. Who would have thought?
Yeah. So what are some closing thoughts here? Like, obviously use this as an opportunity for growth. And I think too, I mean, if we're going to go back to the singer that you brought up, he mentioned, because I remember like watching some of his YouTube videos, like he mentioned a lot of those YouTube videos were a part of that process, like him trying to, you know, find answers for his faith. But I forgot what point I was trying to make. Wow, this is what happens when we record late.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I don't know what I was gonna say.
Wow. Okay. So for
I just remember wanting to bring him back up because you mentioned something that made me think of him doing those Bible studies.
the struggle.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I guess
Sorry, guys.
for my closing thoughts, like I said, I think we should lean in, and I think as a society we shouldn't be afraid to kind of bring these things up. Don't just, I don't know, quote unquote, like suffer in silence. There may be people around you who've had a lot of these questions too, or they've wrestled with these things. We're not alone. Let's figure them out together. I don't, especially considering, like I said, a lot of us don't even know how to research properly.
Yeah.
And if we go with just what the groupthink is on social media, or you know, just
Or if you just go with whatever your pastor is saying.
yeah, I
think that people have broken away from the faith just on that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, my pastor said, you know, can't wear pants. Then that's not something I want to be a part of. But where is that? Where did you find that?
Yeah, and like I said, have those conversations. I think that's something. Maybe he's wrong.
Yeah.
And maybe, you know, he's just believed this or been told this his whole life too.
Right.
Like I don't expect anyone to be perfect. I don't expect any institution to be, you know, infallible. But like, nah, let's go through this. And if we could come to a conclusion together, I think we're better for it. May we lose some people? Yeah, but I think it's better to lose them in an effort to try to gain truth. Let's lose them for the truth versus them coming up to their own conclusions, or us just believing, you know, living in our own little bubble and thinking everything that we do has been okay and can't change or get better. So
yeah. Oh, this was the point.
There we go.
That even though he found answers his way, like don't just kind of hop on the bandwagon type thing. Figure that out for yourself. Because I think another thing that maybe that's not something that I've had to deconstruct, but I've seen this theme where people are like, well, that's, you know, that's my conviction or something like that. Like they'll say like, yeah, but I just know that that's something that I'm not supposed to do. But where it kind of merges with your life and you know that that's not maybe biblical or whatever. I'll just say an example. So I have someone very close to me who she's just like, I'm not listening to secular music.
Okay.
Like that's my conviction.
yeah.
Whatever. And then it came, you know, that's cool. I'm glad for you. Like I know like when you was out here, like that was what got you out here.
Yeah.
So you're just not gonna do that. But then when it comes to like when we were planning our wedding and they were like, are you gonna play secular music at your wedding? And it was like, yeah, girl, I am. I'm sorry to tell you, you know? But when it comes into like, well, that's not necessarily what that's not my conviction.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if Before I Let Go comes on, and I don't listen to nothing wild. But technically that is secular music.
Yeah.
So if that comes on, you know, is that going to be a problem? So it's just like breaking down even like those things. Like I get it. There are verses where it's like, you know, well, don't cause somebody else to sin.
Yeah.
But then, you know, Let's break down what's a sin.
No, it's just, it's different for everyone, right? And
Yeah.
it's understanding. Yeah, maybe you don't need to stay for the whole reception if you're that person. Versus like trying to guilt someone for listening to secular music at their wedding.
Yeah.
Or
maybe
if that's
we meet
the
up.
struggle for
Maybe
you.
we don't drive in the same car and listen to my playlist. Let's just meet up where we need to go.
Yeah, that's different. But
You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Stuff
I
like
think
that.
it's not. I don't think I need to hold everyone to my same standard. If my standard is maybe a little different or higher, or like if I was vegan, like would I not hang out with non-vegan people? Or no, you got to learn how to coexist with people. Your own personal convictions shouldn't like separate you in that way.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got there.
I don't know. But yeah, so
Jackie's tired.
Figure out.
I'm gonna wrap this up for her.
No. I was just gonna say at the end, I think there is freedom in the ultimate truth, and so I think as long as you're trying to get there, that is what Reconstruction is. It's still within the faith. So to deconstruct and then leave the faith, that's just, you're just tearing it down. And then that's it. It's not a reconstruction. It's just...
Or maybe that was the conclusion of their reconstruction, though.
Of that they don't.
Yeah, no. When they reconstructed, the conclusion was, I don't believe this anymore.
Yeah.
So it could be that. I think we should just... I guess as individuals, we shouldn't be afraid of it. I don't think it's a taboo word. I don't think it's ultimately the threat to end Christianity today. But it's here. It's real. It's real.
Yeah.
And when done, I think
I'm here for it.
Yeah, exactly. I think it ultimately makes this thing better.
Yeah.
So I'm here for it. I think you will lose some people in the process, but that's the opportunity, I think, is to, you can also save some people in the process. You can gain some people in the process. Because ultimately, the Bible does have answers for a lot of these questions. It's making that known to people. And I think maybe we haven't done as good of a job of that historically as a church.
Yeah.
But
that's good.
It's good. We can end.
Yes.
All right. Another episode in the books.
Bye, guys.
See you.
When I pull up on you, then I might swear, ayy. Double off deuce, ayy. That you might work, ayy. When I pull up on you, then I might swear, ayy. Double off deuce, ayy. That you might work, ayy. That you might work. That you might work.